Testing, testing. Testing, testing. All right. Testing, testing. All right. Let's see here. Today is November 20th of 2024. Um, just going to go over yesterday's price action as well as the outlook for today. Let's see here. So yesterday was kind of interesting. I didn't get to trade in the morning. Has something to do. But I did catch a pretty good trade in the afternoon. The morning session was actually pretty nice too, and I'm bummed out I didn't get to trade that one. Um, so came into the morning session. I had expected price to draw lower. That was my draw on liquidity, where these lows down here, and maybe see some lows. These lows get taken, but obviously that didn't happen. Um, so whenever you're looking for the draw on liquidity, when you want to understand where price is drawing towards right now, the first thing I always look for is to see if there's a double purge, and a double purge is in the form of um, let's see here, where is it? No, that's not it. Here it is. It's always in this. Son of a biscuit. So it's always in this form. You want to see, if you're bearish, you want to see sell side get taken first and then buy side, and then you want to get into the trade with a short. And if you're bullish, you want to see sell side get actually buy side get swept first and then sell side get swept. And again, as always, that is the market taking out both sides before it draws towards the direction that it's drawing towards. Because if it takes out, if you're bullish and it takes out buy side first, then you're drawing higher, obviously. So you want to see both sides of the market get swept first, and then the draw on liquidity to start. And that's what I'm always looking for in these charts. And so again, once price um, once I noticed that price was drawing towards the lows, or I was bearish, and the reason why I expected that was because the previous day on the 1 hour, price swept sell side first right here, and then it swept buy side, right? If you zoom into the 60-minute, you'll understand that. So it took out sell side, then it took out buy side. So during the Asia model, what did it do? It took out Asia and London. It took out buy side here, and then it took out sell side. Once it did that, I wanted to see how price would close after it swept this sell side. So what did it do? It actually closed pretty bullish with a huge wick right here, and then price came up to take out buy side. Same thing here. 60-minute first, the 4 hour. Took out buy side, sell side, and the reason why this was a pretty good short in the morning, or actually during Asia and London, was because you had SMT between this high and this high here, and this high and this high here. SMT, where this one took out buy side, this one did not take out buy side. So you could have shorted whichever one of these two, as long as they were within the time frame. So come into the morning session, the 10 o'clock macro, price sweeps sell side. So you're primed for a bullish move because again, it took out buy side first and then sell side. Same thing here. It did not take out buy side, but it did take out sell side. And look at how the 4-hour closed, pretty bullish. Uh, whenever whenever you're looking either for continuation to the downside or for a reversal, you always want to look to see how the hourly or the 4-hour closes, right? So if this 4-hour would have closed like this candle here and the close would have been down here, um, then you would have expected price to maybe continue drawing lower. But since price swept through this low and then immediately, not immediately, but then the 4-hour closed above here, uh, that could be a bullish sign. That could be an indication that price is not willing to trade lower. It's actually looking to trade higher. And as you can see, this next 4-hour open and closed right at it, and didn't even hit the previous low. Instead, it just displaced higher. So that's how you can tell. That's how you can look for signs as to where the market is drawing towards, or where the market is unwilling to draw towards. And that's why I was bullish here going into the afternoon session still. Um, so let's see here. So let's go to the 60-minute real quick. So again, during the morning session, I was expecting price to reverse. Here on the 1 hour, though, it did close pretty bearish, but uh, the four hour candle closes at 10 o'clock. So you want to see, you want to respect the 4-hour candle as opposed to the 1-hour candle. And so again, this is the during the 0930 open, price displaced lower, price displaced lower. Okay, so you can't really tell it here. So let's move into the 15-minute. Now again, this is all based off the daily and the 4-hour time frames. So I came up with my bias based off the 4-hour and the 1-hour candles, um, and I came up with my trading plan based off the 15, 5, and 1 minute. All right, so again, during the 0930 open, what did it do? Prices had already kind of reversed here, had created this gap here and this inverse gap here. This inverse gap here became an inverse once price closed above the body. Once the body of this candle closed above the low of this candle, which is the high of this tiny little gap here, right there. Actually, it's even smaller right there. So once this candle closed above the body, once the body closed above the high of this gap here, it became an inverse, and then you have this candle here. So you have two areas where you have an inverse and a regular gap. That in itself is a balanced price range, meaning that price has already fulfilled sell side liquidity and buy side liquidity. So if you are bullish, then price should hold here, and it did, obviously. Uh, so that's how you can tell a balanced price range. Once it takes out liquidity and then it reverses, it creates two balanced price ranges. It creates two gaps. That's when you get the move in the direction that you're looking for price to move into. So again, 930 opens, and then we get this sideways price action here. The 5 minute didn't really tell me anything here. But I knew that we were in a balanced price range, and well, I didn't know because I wasn't available during this time. But if I had been here, I would have noticed this. And whenever you're looking to take a trade, you always want to get it at 50% of the range. You always want to see one of the pairs draw into 50% of the range, and the other one, and it's an even better sign if the other one doesn't draw into 50% of the range. As you can see, NQ did not draw into 50% of the range. ES did. Um, and you always, when you're looking for continuation or when you're looking for an aggressive move, you always want to look at where the move actually started, where the up move actually started. And the up move, even though the low is right here, the candle that started the move is actually this one. So you want to use the low of this candle, and as you can see here, price traded into 50% of the range, at 0955, and that's during the macro time. And during the macro time, price came up to take out the objective up here. Uh, and as you can see, this one did not. Another indication that price would draw higher is this 15-minute SMT here. Whenever I'm looking at SMT, I'm never looking at SMT on the 5 or the 1 minute. What I'm looking for is SMT on the 15 or 1 hour. And then once you notice SMT on those time frames, that's when you know the trade is gonna has a high probability of working out. As you can see here, this 15-minute swept this low here on the 15-minute. This 15-minute did not sweep this low. So that's SMT. And again, SMT is not smart money. Smart money. What is it? I forget what many people call it, but SMT actually stands for smart money time, because when it comes to SMT, you want time to be the deciding factor. You don't want just because it draws a new low. That's not true SMT. True SMT is that oh, it's actually right here. True SMT is when time aligns with the sweep and the non-sweep of the lows. Okay, so again, SMT here, price drew into 50% of the range, and you could have gotten along right here, and then and then price drew higher after that. So pretty good morning session. So I come into the afternoon. I come into the afternoon session, and this is where I actually took my trade. I noticed on the 15-minute, we had still yet to draw into the liquidity right here for the, I think, 1300 macro. Yep, right here. So as you can see here, this was my draw on liquidity. This was my buy side liquidity that I was aiming for. Same thing here, buy side liquidity I was aiming for, and it was right here. And right here, you notice this gap here. Okay, so that's the first side. You notice this gap here, first side, and then you notice that that price has is pretty much higher. And if you measure from this low to this high, obviously 50% is down here. This low to this high, 50% is right here. So so I knew that price was not likely to draw into 50% of the move, because price had a pretty pretty aggressive move during the morning session. So you just continue to zoom in. You look at where price is at that moment. So again, I have a 15-minute gap here, uh, 15-minute gap here, and then you start to notice things. Where, after price broke out of this consolidation, where did the aggressiveness start? And it started right here, right there. And this one, actually no, this is not right. Okay, so on the 5-minute, I don't see anything. Obviously, consolidation started here, but you want to see some sort of wicks and some sort of pivots aligned there. And so I didn't see anything on the 5-minute, even though, again, I already have the 15-minute gaps, the 15-minute gaps drawn there. And so I come into the 1 minute, and I noticed that price here had this massive move up after price had this initial entry here after SMT. I knew this low was protected, and so you come in here. Let's see here. Right. Okay. All right. So I come into this. I come into the afternoon session already having drawn the 15-minute gap here, and I notice, and what I look for, if I know that price is not going to join to 50% of the range, I don't blindly go into this. I don't blindly use a low to measure 50% of the range. What I look for first, if I know that price is not going to draw into 50% of the range, what I look for first is I look for a sweep on liquidity. I look for a good sweep. And as you can see here, you have a swing high, swing low, but no true sweeps. And then here during the 12 o'clock session, I noticed this sweep right here of this low. And so I use this as the 50%, as the dealing range. As you can see here, you have a sweep of this low, and you can use this as the dealing range. In other words, this is where you pay attention to. This is what you look for, because you want to notice the sweep first. You first have to notice it on the 15-minute. If there's nothing on the 15-minute, you move into the 5-minute. If there's nothing on the 5-minute, and you still expect price to draw into the previous day high, you draw into you look into the 1-minute, and again, this aligns with that 15-minute gap that I outlined. And then, as you can see here, again, I'm always I always look for one of them to draw into 50% of the range where the other one doesn't. And on this one, price drew into 50% of the range, and then I jumped in right. Actually, it wasn't this one. It was this one. I like taking the one that doesn't draw into 50% of the range because it tells me that that's the stronger of the two. And there's also SMT right here on the 15-minute, not between ES and NQ, but between YM. So ES and Q drew a new low, whereas YM did not. So YM had the low up here. And so I jumped in long right here and I covered into I think it was 430 right here. And the reason why I covered there was because unfortunately I was only able to take one, and the other one did not get triggered in. And I have the video right here where unfortunately I didn't start the recording until afterwards. But again, I noticed a sweep right here between this high and this low here, draw in that 50% of the range. I jumped in right here and I start to look. And the reason why I covered at 50% of the range is because, I mean, the reason why I covered right below it is because a lot of times what it'll do is it'll touch that 2R and then immediately reverse. And I didn't want to get stuck in that. And unfortunately, I only got into one contract. As you can see here, I'm just waiting until that area gets tapped. I had more buy orders down here, but obviously it did not. Those did not work, and I had to cancel them because I was already in the trade and I covered up here. And then eventually it did get up to that part. But anyways, that was it for the day. That was it for the day. I didn't take any more trades. I wanted to take this one below, but obviously I did not get to do that one, and I did take the afternoon trade. So today, what's my outlook? As you can see, I don't have my data loaded up yet because I haven't connected to data yet. So off of just yesterday, I was expecting price to draw lower because we had this inside candle here, and whenever you have an inside candle at about 20%, 25% of a big candle, whenever you have an inside candle where it doesn't sweep the low or the high, same thing here, the next day is probably going to have a pretty massive move. And what this inside candle told me after this candle printed yesterday or closed yesterday was that you did have a pretty big massive move. And then what happened? Price reversed and closed above and inside this daily candle here. So that's a pretty bullish sign to me. Not only that though, we have a bullish unicorn here, where here price swept this low here, but here it did not. So that in itself to me is a unicorn. Not only that though, but you have this swing low here, and this becomes a mitigation block, unicorn setup. And whenever there's a mitigation block and price has a stop run in between the mitigation block, uh, it's likely to work in that favor. So I am bullish today. I do expect price to draw higher. So we'll see what happened during the Asia and London session. Right, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so I was watching this gap here. I wanted to see price start closing below consequent encroachment of the 50% of this gap, but obviously it did not. The last 3 days it has actually closed above it. Same thing here. It closed below consequent encroachment, pretty bearish sign, but then the next day it closed above it. Obviously inside candle, so I expected price to draw lower, but then the next day it immediately took that high and closed above it. So I am expecting bullish price action to see where price is headed towards next. We do have three higher time frame where three higher time frames are in conjunction with each other, so they're in agreement with each other, and that's why I'm expecting price to draw higher today. Let's go ahead and connect and see where price is right now. During Asia, what I want to see is I want to see consolidation. Then during London, maybe see a sweep of the high and then sweep of the low, and then we get to draw higher. Same thing here, Asia consolidation, London manipulation of both sides, and then we get to draw higher. Uh, for a bearish sign, what I want to see is I want to see price draw lower and close below this gap. If it closes below that gap, then that means we swept liquidity, um, and then right again. So if we're gonna draw through here, I want to see price close below this gap here on the 4 hour, and we are about how many minutes? We're about 40 minutes away from the 10 o'clock macro. The 10 o'clock macro is when this 4 hour closes. So if we are bearish, I would like to see price close down here below the low of this gap here. If it doesn't close and we get that sweep of this sell side liquidity right here, and we get the sweep, then I want to see price sweep this low and then close above here in a very bullish manner. Yeah, in a very bullish manner. Um, so again, I do see here that we swept buy side. We swept this high here, buy side liquidity. So multiple forms of buy side liquidity. We are at 50% of this range here. Here we did not reach into 50% of the 50% of that range. We swept multiple sides of liquidity up here at these 4 hour highs. 3 drive pattern, 1 high, 2 high, 3 highs. And whenever you get a 3 drive pattern, that's usually a bearish sign. So right now price is drawing towards the lows. And what I mean by the lows is I mean this low right here. That's the draw on liquidity right now. That's where the market is drawing towards right now. So that's my only focus right now. I want to see what happens after it draws through here. So if you were short during the Asia and London session right here, which actually just happened now, well, actually not now, but recently, you could have been prepared to take a short up here. Let's take a look at the 4 hour. So again, I want to see what price does after it sweeps these lows here. I am watching this breaker right here, this breaker, because we have a unicorn setup. A unicorn setup. We have a stop run in between the breaker, so that makes it an even stronger case that price may reverse in this area. If we are bullish, I don't want to see price slice through this, and I don't want to see price close below here. I don't want to see price slice through here and close down here. I want to see price hold here, reverse, and then we start that draw higher. So I've made the case for both bullish and bearish sessions. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. 4 hour setup. Yep. Okay. Let's go into the 60-minute. Okay. So so again here on the 60-minute we had we have a 3 drive pattern here where multiple areas of buy side was taken, sell side was taken here, did not come back up to take buy side. Again, if we are bullish, then I want to see price sweep buy side and then sell side. And as you can see here, we swept buy side, we swept sell side, we swept buy side first. This to me is not necessarily sell side because I do believe this is sell side right here. Because on the 4 hour, that's what the 4 hour is telling me. And whenever you're looking at, whenever you do technical analysis, you always want to respect what the higher time frame is telling you. So even though the hourly price is drawing lower, the 4 hour still has some 4 hour PD arrays, and the 4 hour is stronger than the 1 hour. So again, I do want to see what price does after it sweeps these lows here. Same thing here. The 4 hours telling me that this is sell side liquidity. We swept buy side, sell side here, but again, it's not as strong to me. I do expect price to sweep these lows down here and to see what price does at this 4-hour order block, as well as this 4-hour breaker block here. Let's see here. What else? Technically speaking, this would be the 50% of the range up here, which would fall in line with this 1-hour unicorn here. Let's do this again here. It falls in line with this 1 hour, but what I want to do is I also kind of want to use this right here, because this is where the move started yesterday after after the 0930 open. This is where that initial trade took place, or I believe it was up here somewhere, but this is where that initial trade took place. So again, I am watching these areas to see what happens in that area. Again, sell side liquidity, buy side has already been taken, and this 1-hour setup is it's working out right now. And again, if you are short, then this is where you want to take profit. Same thing here. This is where you want to end up taking profit to see if if you are short. And if you are short, you want to take most of your profit here, and you don't want to hold on to much of it anymore, because I do believe that maybe this is where where we where we reverse. Again, this is all based off of what happened on the daily. On the daily, again, we do have an inside candle, which I thought would be the initial move to start that next leg down. But again, yesterday's move kind of put a wrench in that for me. So I am watching to see how price reacts in this area. I'm also watching previous day high, which falls in line with this, with right around where the sell side liquidity is at. So if it reverses, then that would be an immediate rebalance where price closes that gap and then immediately draws higher, and that would constitute an immediate rebalance off based off of the previous day high. You also write this down. Oh, and I did forget. There are no news today, but we do have Nvidia. I forget what other companies are releasing today. It's all of the AI companies. Let's just say that. So if there is no setup during the 10 o'clock macro, then that's it. Don't look to trade the 13 or 1400 macros, because the market will likely just consolidate going into the earnings releases later on in the afternoon. So yeah, don't look for more trades later on, unless you take something on the 1 minute based off of the 5 minute. So I wouldn't recommend that. So if there's nothing during the 10 o'clock macro or maybe 11 o'clock macro, then that's it. Just be mindful of that. And Nvidia company now, and the market likes to consolidate. And then once the earnings come, I think that's when we'll get, if we are bullish today, and we take out the objective, which is this high up here, since my sell side liquidity is down here for me, and we end up taking the objective, like let's say during the 11 o'clock macro or whatever, then I suspect we just consolidate, or maybe we might just consolidate now. We might just not even do anything. But that all depends on how price reacts coming off the open here in about 40 seconds. Actually, let's go to YM. What's YM doing? YM, okay, right here. So YM already took out Asia and London, but it did not take out that low that I'm talking about, which is this low right here. This is the 1500 low. Yep, about 1500. So they're all in sync right now. So I want to see what happens during that time. And again, the only way I'll be bearish if we get a displacement through these areas and price closes down here during the 10 o'clock macro. I don't need this. This is actually the daily candle. This is the daily gap, and this is that daily gap up here as well. I actually don't need this either, but I keep it in there just in case. I was opened. I'm going to keep this here, and that's a daily immediate rebalance, if in fact it is an immediate rebalance. I'm going to leave that one there. That one's the same as well. Submit the 15-minute. Again, this is the area I'm looking at. This is where I suspect we get that that reversal if it comes to that. But again, this is that area I want to see. I want to see get swept. Let's see here. Word on the 15-minute. Okay, so here, as you can see, this could have been a setup for the day for the short setup here. As you can see here on the 15-minute, we are looking at the swing high, swing lows. Here we get that sweep of swing low, and then we get a buy side setup. So that, again, that's always that double purge I'm always looking for, right? I'm looking for that. If I'm bearish, I'm always looking for that sell side sweep first, and then once that buy side is set up, that's when you start looking for the 2022 model, which is, the breaker short setup, which is that I think a lot of people miss that part. They always look for breakers first, but the first thing you have to look for is sell side and buy side get take first. So again, you want to see sell side get taken, and you want to see buy side get taken. And if you expect price to draw lower, that's when you start looking at that breaker setup, which is right here. As you can see, the down close candles are what you want to look at. You get in here, and then your drawn liquidity are these lows down here. So pretty good setup, pretty good entry. If you were playing the 0930 open, this would have been the entry, because you have a mitigation block right here. You get a run on liquidity. So a mitigation block is only a good mitigation block to short when there's a stop run in between the high and in between the highs of that mitigation block. So you get a stop run right here. You wait for price to close below the last down close candle, and you enter right there, and this would be your drawn liquidity. But obviously I'm not going to take that. I'll be right back. I got to use the bathroom. All right, I'm back. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect from data, and and the reason I do that is because I'm pretty impulsive. Uh, it's just my character. It's who I am, and uh, and I tend to do impulsive things from time to time. So to combat that, I disconnect from data so that I don't know where price is going to, because I already have an idea of where I want price to go to and what I want price to do after it gets to those areas where I want to possibly take a trade. So as you can see here, price swept sell side here. I'm disconnected from data, so I'm that gives me like I guess you can say a chance to think about what I want price to do, and um, so I'll just watch and I'll wait a couple more minutes until 9:40. Let's say 9:46, 9:47, because by that time my impulsiveness will be gone, and I'll just concentrate on the objective of what I want to see with price. So this 15 minute, as you can see here, as well as this 60-minute, and also the 4 hour, right? So you have three higher time frame. Uh, yeah, you have three higher time frame candles there that are going to close at exactly 10 o'clock, right? So what I want to see if there's going to be a reversal is I want price if it's going to if it continues drawing lower, then I want price to draw lower and then immediately close above this wick here. I want it to close kind of like it did yesterday. After it swept this low, look how it closed, right? After this 1 hour swept this low, look how it closed, right? After it swept this low, look how it closed here, obviously, right? It closed like this, pretty bearish. And then what happened to the next candle? It swept this low here. So if you're bearish and you were looking for this to be the objective, you want price to close like this. You don't want price to close like it did here after it swept this low. If this is your objective and this is where you have your limit orders, you want price to close like this because the next candle will likely sweep that low. And it did. And then obviously it reversed that. So that's what I want to see with the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and the 15-minute after it sweeps this low here, right? So I want something to occur here. I want that double purge, like I always say. Um, where is it again? I always close it. Right, so I want that double purge as I'm seeing right now because on both ES and NQ, you can actually see it right now. You see buy side swept, which is right here. Then you want to see sell side get swept, which is right here. And then you want that for 1 hour and 15 minutes to show you. Ideally, I would like the 4 hour. I don't care about the 15 minute because 4 hours is king above the 1 hour. The 1 hour is king above the 15 minutes. So as long as the 4 hour closes above this or the 1 hour closes above this, then I'm sold. Um, and you want that sweep, and then you want to see that draw higher. So this is what I have on the 1 hour thus far, right? So once I connect back to data, we're going to be in the 15 minute. And as soon as I see the 15 minute, I'll switch over to the 5 minute. And the same thing that we're seeing right now happen on this 15 minute. As you can see, buy side swept. Now we're coming down here to see sell side swept. So the same thing that I see up here on this 15 minute that we're seeing right now, I'm going to zoom into the 5 and the 1 minute, and I'm going to look for the same thing. I want to see a tiny, maybe buy sides. The same thing I saw here yesterday on this trade. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right here. The same thing I used to trade yesterday. Actually, I can delete this now. So once I zoom into the 5 minute, to the 1 or the 5 minute, I want to see the same thing. I want to see buy side get swept right here, and then sell side get swept, and then we get that draw higher. Obviously here it did not happen, but if you look at NQ, it did. All I need is for one of the pairs to show me what it's doing, and then for that model to come into play, and so I could have a chance at jumping into the trade with a with a logical risk reward. And so actually, let's do it right now on the since we have a little time before the 10 o'clock macro. Right here. Okay, as you can see here, buy side gets swept, sell side gets swept, draws higher, comes back into maybe actually ES came down into 50% of the 50% of the range, got jumped in right here, and took that trade up to 50 points. So pretty good trade there. So I'm looking for the same thing that is occurring right now in the 15-minute and the 1 hour and the 4 hour. I'm going to be looking for the same thing on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. And if that doesn't occur, then no trade. If that doesn't come to fruition, then no trade for me. And I just wait on my ass until the 11 o'clock macro. After 11 o'clock, I'm no longer going to trade because I do foresee price maybe consolidating for the rest of the afternoon until Nvidia releases earnings. I think it's Nvidia and a couple other ones. Nvidia leads in AI, so I do expect price to be very volatile afterwards, which is, yep, it's Nvidia, Snowflake, and Palo Alto. So those are three companies that are pretty big in the AI, I guess you can say, genre. So that's why I don't expect anything to happen after 11 o'clock, or even if during the 10 o'clock macro there's something does happen. So we're waiting about 3 more minutes. Um, you know, when I started learning, I would keep my eyes on the chart uh, at this time, and then I would see something, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is my chance. Let me get in now before everybody else." And then that's when you end up getting stopped out. And again, to combat that, for me, the easiest resolution for that was to just disconnect from data altogether. And I'm glad that NinjaTrader allows me to do that. Um, because if you use TradingView, the the chart remains connected. Same thing with actually no with Thinkorswim, you can still disconnect. But TradingView, I think you're not able to disconnect. I'm not sure actually. I mean, I do use TradingView for YM, but I minimize it. And again, that's just to combat my impulsiveness, my inability to keep off the mouse when I'm just having to wait. Because by this time, I already know what I'm looking for. I already know if there's a setup there, then I'll take it. If not, then I won't take it. And I know where my stops would be if the setup is there. And if I have two consecutive losses, then I stop. And my stop loss will always be about 30 points with my first target at 50, and then so on and so on after that. But let's see what else. Yeah, that's it. So now I'm just waiting until the 09 until 09:46, 47 ish to see if there is a setup. Actually, so let's move this back here. This is buy side liquidity for me. The first objective This along with this low are relatively equal highs, so these are, I should label it as relatively equal highs. These are relatively equal highs as well. I always want to see where the waters are not as spiky. These waters have already been damaged. Very spiky here. These are not as spiky. But again, that all has to deal with, if price does in fact reverse. But the only way out that it's not going to reverse is if we get that displacement through here. If we get that displacement through here, then maybe we reverse here. Uh, but again, I would like to see the 4 hour close down here. If the 4 hour closes up here or something, then my, I guess you can say my bias or my plan will be a little less solid, and I'll look to see what happens. But let's go ahead and connect now, and let's see what we see. So the 50 minutes should have already closed here. All right, let's see here. All right, so we closed there. And as you can see, this one drew into this 50%. What did YM do? YM also ran that low. So we ran that low. We also ran that low. So three, all three, all three pairs are in sync with each other. Let's take a look at the 4 hour. Maybe I should do this because technically speaking, this breaker right here is a little too narrow for for it to be a breaker. So let's just use both up close candles. All right, so this one broke through, closed below. So I am watching this right here. Again, on the 4 hour, I want to see price close above this area here. I want to see price close above this area here. Let's take a look at the 60-minute. So again, my mind is set to look for a reversal here. Um, I'm not thinking about getting short. The only way I would be getting short is if price closes down here during the 10 o'clock macro, but that doesn't mean I'm going to short at 10 o'clock. That just means I'm looking for a short later on in the afternoon, or later on during the 11 o'clock macro. Because if price closes down here, then I might suspect that we might come down and take these lows here on the hourly. So right now, for me, I'm just looking for signs of a possible reversal within this confluence here, which is a 4 hour order block, a 4 hour breaker block, and we have about 10 minutes before price closes here on the 1 hour. So if the reversal is going to occur, I want to see something on the 5 minute. So this is where I start looking for that signature in price. As you can see here, we just had that sweep of the high. Same thing here, we had that sweep of the high. Let's go ahead and draw this here. This should be green because technically it hasn't closed above this yet, but I am anticipating this turning into an inverse. Okay, so again, we want to see that double purge. We got the sweep of the high first. We haven't swept the low yet. So now that the 10 o'clock macro started, we start looking for that sweep. Okay, so we have that sweep here. And now we have that sweep down there. So now what I'm looking for, there's also SMT, right? So you have low there, low there. Now notice I'm not clicking that buy or sell just yet, but I am opening that my order window. And now I want to see displacement. I want to see displacement through those highs, and this would become the order block if this is going to be the reversal. I'm just not enamored with the with this just yet, though. But we'll see. Again, it's the SMT that's giving me indication that we might look to draw higher here. We might come back to sweep another low once again, because now this becomes one drive, two drive, and ideally I like to see three drive patterns. And if I decide to take my shot here, then I probably will, because I like ES much more than I like NQ. We're holding below this order block, so I'm watching this order block here, this bearish order block. Yeah, because see, if this was a true reversal, if this was true displacement, then we would have seen candles like we saw yesterday right here. We would have seen, or we should be seeing, something like this. But nothing yet. Let me make sure it is SMT though. Oh no. Darn. Missed, lost something real quick. Alright, just give me a second. Oh, there we go. Alright. In the back of my mind, I'm also still keeping this keeping the 60-minute and 4-hour in the back of my mind. Because if this becomes the reversal, then I would want it to happen now and then see the displacement higher, and then the 60-minute closes up here along with the 4-hour. So we're about to get a second, um, well, a third sweep now, and again, that's a three drive pattern. A three drive pattern, just like the one I mentioned up here on the 1-hour. It's happening now on the 1-minute. So now, again, as you can see, NQ has not swept that low yet. It hasn't swept this low, so we're still in business here. YM still hasn't swept the 15-minute low, so there is SMT. If NQ sweeps this low, then that SMT is still in place, because YM hasn't swept that 15-minute low. And as long as as long as YM does not sweep that 15-minute low, then I'm comfortable getting long here, um, as long as YM does not sweep that 15-minute low, if there's placement. So right now, I'm just still watching. And if I get long, my first drawn liquidity will be up here. Same thing here. And the further price draws lower, I just don't like how time is setting up. It's not drawing higher, but it's still within this breaker and it's still above constant encroachment. Here, constant encroachment. So that I'm using that as well. So now at this point, I don't think price closes up here, but if it closes above constant encroachment, then that's still good for me. Okay, so YM still hasn't swept that 15-minute low, so there's still SMT there. So now I want to see price close above this inverse here, if it turns into an inverse, and if it does, and I see, and there is displacement, meaning that the candle becomes very closes very aggressively, then I will get long as soon as price closes above this with the body. I would like this candle to close up here somewhere. Never mind. And we just drew into 50% of this 1 hour order block down here. Well, we're about to, but still I'm waiting. And the further it goes, the less likely this environment. But this is about the lowest I would want it to get, because there's that 1 hour order block right here as well. So we do have a 1 hour gap as well as this 1 hour order block. And YM has still yet to sweep that 15-minute low, so there's that SMT is still intact. So this would be the last line of defense. I don't want to see it displaced lower anymore. If it displaces lower, then I'll have to take a look at my bias, or at least disconnect from data, and then come back later on to see where the price is, where price is likely to go. And all of that has to do with whether price continues to displace lower or not. Okay, so the 10 o'clock macro just started. Here, we just closed below constant encroachment, but we're still within that time frame. Here, we reached the low of that 4 hour gap. So again, this would be the last line of defense for me. That 1 hour candle is pretty bearish, so we'll see. I do want to be sold on it, otherwise I won't take that. I want to close above here. I'll take it just because I do like the um, see what the risk reward would be. 32 points, but my risk would be up to here, so about 18.75 points. I do like how these candles closed. I want to see price close above here and here. All right, I'm taking a starter. I want to see how it reacts here. If I feel like it's not gonna close above this area, then I'll just take it out. Here we swept this tiny little high here. Here we did not, so I'm not liking that. It all has to deal with how this candle closes. Three more seconds and I'll just close it. Yep. All right, I'm gonna close it. All right, so I don't like that. And the reason why, this could be a good short opportunity, because I like seeing the signature in price where here after you get that double purge. But again, we swept buy side first and then we swept sell side. So I'm not looking for that. I want to see, if I'm looking to short, I want to see sell side get swept and then buy side get swept. And we didn't get that. So I really don't like this setup. I don't like how the 1 hour and the 4 hour closed. Right. So I don't like how this 1 hour closed. I would have liked to have seen it up here, but obviously we did not get that, and instead we're just continuing to draw lower. And again, I don't like how this 4 hour closed either. Yeah, I don't like how this 4 hour closed. This could be the last line of defense. The 4 hour the 4 hour order block. It still might reverse. It still might not. We still have about 7 minutes left, so I'm gonna wait until that displacement happens. If it happens, if it doesn't, then no entry, no trade. Um, I tried to give it a shot here, and I think I took a 10-point loss on just two contracts, so that's fine. Um, so the fact that YM still hasn't swept that 15-minute low, that's the only thing keeping me from yeah, it's keeping me and keeping me to anticipate that trade if it comes. If it doesn't, then I'm not gonna take any more chances. And today might just be one of those days where there is no trade. Um, so now we have this inversion gap here. If it turns into one, again, this is all based off of anticipating uh, in this becoming an inversion. And if price closes above here aggressively, then I may give it another shot. Same thing here. This becomes an inversion gap now if it turns into one. But in the meantime, it's just a regular gap. Yeah, I really don't want to see any more downside. At this point, yeah, I just don't trust it anymore. I don't trust that price will do that. In fact, it's starting to look like a couple of days ago. Where is it? Is it right here? And that's why I love these. Either way the market decides to draw, I like them. It's starting to look like this day right here, where price sweeps buy side and then sweeps sell side and then rejects this breaker block here, right? But obviously, I did not take this trade. Instead, what I did is I waited for a double purge, in that I wanted to see price sweep this high, and on ES it actually did, and then I took the short here, and then you know did that. Um, so that all depends on what you're I guess you can say what your model is and stuff like that. My model is not until I see both sides of the market get taken out first. And obviously we did not get that just yet. And the fact that price is displacing lower is telling me that maybe my bias is wrong. Um, and as you can see here on the 4 hour, what I wanted to see is, if I wanted to get short, is I wanted to see price close down here. It did not necessarily do so just yet, which is not surprising because the market does do that. But we are still within this breaker here, so be mindful of that. We are still within this breaker, so price may very well still reverse. This could become a balanced price range where we have buy side delivery, sell side delivery, and then this if we get price to close down here, then this might turn into a head and shoulders pattern where we get the shoulder tomorrow and then we can get continuation lower the next day. But I'm still keeping with my bullish bias, just because I just don't I just the price action we saw yesterday was a pretty bullish close, so that's why I'm a little um, yeah, I'm not so sure we uh, we displaced lower just yet. Let's take a look at the 5 minute again. Okay, so YM finally swept that low. So again, I am not trading. I am not looking at price. Instead, what I'm looking at now is I'm looking at the order blocks that are being created towards the downside, right? So you have this 15-minute order block, and then you have this. Actually, this is a 15-minute order block too, but it's just the bodies. The bodies are just very, um, just something I don't like. We are at optimal trade entry, so I can get rid of this. Can get rid of this. We have an inverse here on the hourly. Inverse. I can get rid of this as well. I can get rid of this. Where is that? I need to bring it a little closer. Here we go. We have about 1 minute until the macro is over. Um, that earlier trade that I took, it was just a starter to see if maybe price would displace. It didn't, so I went ahead and covered it. Um, so again, nothing lost there. I mean, a couple of dollars here and there, but nothing big lost there, uh, because I anticipated the move. The move did not happen. I immediately closed it. One thing you have to understand is when you anticipate the move, you immediately have to close that trade if you don't see it. If you don't see it and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, then just get out, because if I had stayed in, uh, it's that mindset where you greed gets in the way, and that greed will literally get you to add more, uh, because the price draws lower, and then you start adding instead of just getting out of the trade. Because if you continue to add and you average down, what happens? Price continues to draw lower here, right? So you want to remember that. You want to combat that, and the way you do that is by understanding, by writing shit down on your journal. So now we get that displacement, right? So again, what I'm looking for in the afternoon session is I want to see these order blocks get drawn, right? The 11 o'clock macro, I want to see that these order blocks get drawn, and then for the 11 o'clock macro, when I come back, I want to see price fail to get above that, and I want to see my model. I want to see sell side get taken right here, and then buy side get taken, and then we get the displacement lower. So what I want to see now here on the 15-minute is, during the next few minutes or until the 11 o'clock macro, is I want to see price close down here below these lows, because if that is the case, then uh, I will be looking for price to draw into these lows at the objective, because again, the 4 hour displaced lower, so we're getting that displacement, and if there's a model during the 11 o'clock macro, then I probably will end up getting into the trade, which would be the second stage of distribution. First stage distribution, first stage distribution, we get that expansion here, or that distribution here. Then we should have that second stage distribution, and then we have that continue into the objective. But yeah, the macro's over. No trade for me. My bias was wrong. Did not get that model I wanted, so I didn't take that shot with my full position. Um, so mitigated my losses by keeping it to a minimum. And so now that I know that my bias is wrong because we have price displacing lower. Now that I know that, I will be looking for a short later on. Now, let's say for some reason price reverses here and starts closing up here, then what I would want to see is I will want to see price close above this order block here, which again could turn into an order block, and I want to see price. It's highly unlikely that I decide to get long, but if I see the signatures in price where the same way we balance buy side and then we balance sell side, I would want to see that on the 5 minute here, because technically we are still in optimal trade entry in these areas here, and it could very well be so that we do reverse here because we're still within this unicorn here on the 1 hour. Same thing here. We're still within this area here on the 1 hour. So I would want to see, I would want to see, where is it? I would want to see my model on the 5 and the 1 minute for me to get long. But otherwise, I will be looking to see where price is at that moment. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And see you tomorrow.